please can I ask you not to do what we have all been doing, which is to make statements. Can we please have crisp questioning? There are 2 roving mics. There is an extremely anxious questioner up here. Will somebody give that woman a roving mic and put her out of her misery?
It's on. I want to ask...
Could you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Rachel Vincent and I'm an honorary walker tonight. Watch on censorship, but I'm not really a member. But my question is to Hetty. I was really interested in the 3 sort of structures you put in place to ensure the suitable protection of children in the ideal future that you describe. But what I'd like to know, I've got 2 questions of you. One question was in my mind the whole time you were speaking was, first question is, what exactly was the violation that you're referring to by Bill Henson? And the second question is, how different would those works, or the production of those works, or the display of those works be in the world which you've described with the panel and the assessment and so on? Because it seems to my mind that even with all those things in place, there'll be nothing to prevent Bill Henson, a genuine artist, working appropriately, from producing those images and so on. So have I misunderstood something, or is that a question that other people would like answered?
Hetty.
I'm happy to answer. The violation was, I'll just tell you what happened. We got an email from a concerned member of the public who pointed us to the website, the Roslyn Gallery 9 website. That's where we saw the images. And from our perspective, in the area that we work in, they looked pornographic. And they did. To me, they did. We checked the legislation, and not being lawyers, although I'm a criminologist working for me, who I flogged from Griffith about 5 years ago. And we researched and we had a look to see whether this, in our view, would fit what the legislation would describe as pornographic. So we all know pornographic ranges from right down here to, next to nothing, up to, wherever it goes. In our view, it did. We felt it did. So then, and we were concerned that these images were taken and thrown on the net, because we see every day the damage that causes. So we then wrote a letter to the police. The police determined the same as we did. We didn't say, we're the experts and we're telling you this is pornography, so you just go on in there and raid that gallery. We said, we have concerns about this. We don't like these images. We don't like them on the internet. We feel they are pornographic. Do they break the law? If they break the law, you go in there and you sort it out. It was then a decision for the police as to whether or not that was breaking the law or not. Clearly, there are people inside the police who believed the same as we did. And there are thousands, hundreds of thousands of Australians that share our view. So I think we need to respect that too, because I'm sitting up here like the token, feel like the clown getting their balls thrown at them. So that's the answer to that. So if it was, the next question, does that answer that? So the violation was that we believe that it was a violation of the law.
No, I think the question you're being asked, and I think it's an absolutely central question tonight, is how does the taking of the photograph of the child violate the child?
Is that the question? Yes. Well, because there's no control. Yes, I can. I can see the danger in it. I can see the danger in allowing anybody in a room with a naked child and taking photos of them and then putting those on the internet. I can see real dangers in that, particularly when there's no controls around who takes them.
Say Bill Henson, say an organisation was set up which would determine who was and who wasn't an artist.
Well, a peer group organisation.
Or say a peer group organisation. However it's done.
Yeah.
Bill Henson would almost... if Bill Henson didn't qualify as an artist, we wouldn't have artists in this country.
True.
Right. So say Bill Henson gets the stamp of approval of an artist.
Yes.
Would he then, in your view, be able to be alone in a room with a naked child taking that child's photograph?
I think the community would be much more comfortable with that if they know that there's a process by which that goes through. Because you're talking about Bill Henson. Everyone knows that Bill Henson is an acclaimed artist, but you're not talking about John Smith down the road.
Okay, no, look...
Well, maybe they don't. I didn't hear of him until this debate, quite rightly. But what about John Smith down the road?
Sure, but Hetty, you can't punish Bill Henson
I'm not,
for what somebody else might do.
You see, Bill Henson is the lightning rod because it's his images that have created this whole debate. I have said in my speech, written right here, this is not about Bill Henson. It's not even about art. For me, it is about protecting children from commercial sexual exploitation. And the industry, of the arts industry, does nothing that I can see in terms of...
To do that.
Of meeting its obligations and its responsibilities around that. We're talking about working with naked children. And these ones are 12 or 13. Maybe the next ones are 6 or 4. Who knows? So all I'm saying to you is that there needs to be a check and balance around this, and the arts community needs to be responsible for this.
And if the check and balance is there, and if the result turns out to be identical photographs taken by the same Bill Henson, you'd be content?
I would be. I wouldn't like them. I still don't like them. I have to tell you, I think they're creepy. I don't like them at all. But that's my view. And I'm entitled to my view, just as you are.
Sure,
we all have different views about this
It
stuff.
seems that you accept that no harm has been done.
Well, no, I'd like to challenge. I'd like to challenge Julian's contention. Where is the harm for this girl? A 13-year-old. I maintain that a 13-year-old girl cannot understand the ramifications of having pictures of her naked body put on the internet, and that therefore she cannot give informed consent, no matter what her parents did. Parents make mistakes, I think we probably all accept. For example, what if this 13-year-old girl turns 30 and she's a policewoman, and pictures of her turn up and get, passed around, her naked getting passed around the boys? It could have a major impact on her psychological well-being. What if she's running for office somewhere and pictures suddenly appear in the Daily Telegraph? Here she was when she was 13. I don't think she can understand the implications of being a model in those, and I don't think that her parents can give approval for that either. Her parents could not, for instance, approve that she has sex at age 13. That's not within their power.
Clive, being photographed is different from being fucked. It's different.
Not necessarily.
Can I contain the debate with just one little fact? I happen to know that the girl in question is a pretty smart young kid who's doing media studies, and the thing that has upset her most is the hypocrisy of the media coverage of the whole issue.
Okay, now...
Can I just say... that might be more by good luck than good management. That just is lucky that this particular girl has managed to get through this and it hasn't harmed her. But Clive is absolutely right. There is no way to know that at the time. That's a very big chance to take. OK,
now we've got to have some questions from out there. We've got to, because there could be an explosion out there. We've got to... Now, where's the roving? I always love the word roving microphone. Roving microphone, man there, arm up, force your way through. That one. Brisk, we promise to be brisk up here as well, don't we, team?
We'll try.
We'll try to be brisk.
My question is for clarification from Hetty, and David referred to the classification system. I just haven't heard from you what you find problematic about a system which has looked at these images and classified them in relation to all the other images which the official classifiers are looking at, from the stuff that they ban and child pornography. What problem you have with that as a check and balance?
I don't think it's broad enough. I think they're looking at the implications of this on the child, not on the adults, not on the child protection sector, not on the whole not on the crime, the policing of child pornography. I mean, if this isn't pornography, it's bloody close. So, and it is a shadow or two away from being close. It is.
Come on,
well,
come on.
It's an opinionated view. Okay, so I've got an opinion, you've got an opinion. At the end of the day, the law is supposed to decide this. It has in this case. I'm not disagreeing, okay? The law has decided. I'm unhappy with the decision, clearly, okay? And I think the law is so flaky that it is incapable of deciding. And you're right, if those images were even more pornographic, if the child was younger, would the law then be capable of protecting that child and protect from exploitation? I don't think so. So I'm concerned that the law is failing. And I'm concerned that the arts community don't see that. It worries me that you don't see that, or not when I say you collectively. There's a few individuals that just don't see that, or don't understand that you have a responsibility there.
Okay, questions? Who's it? Young man there. There's a roving mic just within feet. Oh. Oh.
My question's for Hetty. You constantly refer to Bill as a stranger taking photographs of these children that aren't his. If they were his children, would they be as offensive as you say? And second of all, you say you want to implement processes where, first of all, you qualify as an artist, and second of all, your artistic processes have to match checkpoints. And are you aware that he knows his subjects through family friends, and he knows them for years, and that they go through months of talking and meeting, and the parents are present in the studio at the time? So I don't really think that you can say he's a stranger to his subjects. But my first question is, if they were his children, is it as offensive?
Yes, it is.
Why is that?
And to your second one, as I've said time and time again, while Bill Henson is the lightning rod for this, it's not the issue for me. It is that anybody can do this. And it could be a stranger, or it could be a parent. Pedophiles are parents, ladies and gentlemen. It's the danger that concerns me.
Tony would like to add.
Sorry, just very briefly. I mean, I'm a bit concerned that we are asserting that the industry has no responsibility or concern about these matters. I mean, I work in a public museum with perhaps half of our audience are school children. We are very concerned about what we do. We pay great attention to it. Our job is to interpret and be responsible. We're part of a whole system which has, in fact, authenticated Bill Henson as an important artist. And I wouldn't mind actually having an accreditation system. It would make it much easier to get tax breaks, frankly. But anyway, but you know, I think here you can't say that the community hasn't had these debates. I've had many around my own dining room table over the last 30 years about Bill Henson's work, and they've been quite sophisticated and interesting. It's not, we know how Bill Henson works, we know him well, we know the work that he produces. This was not a random thing that happened. His show got closed down in spite of the fact that he is accredited and the processes are well understood by people who actually understand these things.
Okay, question here.
Yes, I just had another question for Hetty. I just wondered if you could clarify what you've actually asked the New South Wales Attorney-General to look at. Have you asked him to look at loopholes in the law, and what loopholes are they, and is that separate to the process you're asking the art community to go through of setting up ethics boards or whatever?
I don't care how it happens, to be frank, as long as it does.
It was actually just
two
what
questions.
exactly have you asked him to look at?
Sure. Yeah. The Attorney-General, well, obviously disappointed in the result of the no conviction. I asked them for what processes they have in place for a judicial inquiry or any other kind of inquiry that we can look at the law and the legal processes around how we manage this, how we prosecute it. And yeah, that's really what I did to the Attorney-General, was really more about the legislative stuff. I did legislative stuff. I did also ask them to look at the classification, but apparently they can't do that under the brief of Justice Woods, what he's doing at the moment. So I'm looking for that somewhere else. I'm looking for protections built into the system to protect children from exploitation. Well, I'd prefer to stop it before the event, which is why I'm saying if you know, and I'm agreeing, the gallery, there are lots of, look, we have been contacted by so many people in the arts community who actually support our view because they actually get what I'm saying, you know, and to have that process happen at the gallery, whilst it's fantastic, it does, is too late because the photos have already been taken, the child potentially already exploited. It's too late, and not every artist gets to hang on a gallery wall. And who is an artist anyway? Who are you? What gives you permission? This is the question I'm asking.
No one can hear you, especially not in the extraordinary acoustics of this room.
I'm just trying to clarify what exactly you've asked the Attorney-General. Have you asked him whether it's possible to ban people taking photos of children underage?
No, I've asked him to look at the law, the laws around child pornography and the definitions around child pornography, which are, in my view, incapable of defining. It's all about definitions, it's all about opinions. To look at the whole system of how we deal with pornography, real pornography. I mean, the whole thing is wide open to abuse. So I'm asking them to look at the whole system as part of their inquiry around the protection of children to see if that legislation is actually capable of protecting children against commercial sexual exploitation. And I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know if it can, but it certainly doesn't look like it.
Just very quickly, working in an art institution and indeed being an artist for many, many years, I'm just a bit amiss. We're talking about the Henson case not being a problem in relation to the law, and then you're saying the art world has somehow been irresponsible. Where are the other examples? What is the onslaught here
Well, is there or not? Do you know how many people are out there calling themselves artists who can do this? See, this is a preventative measure, if you like. What this has done for me is it's thrown it out there. It's thrown it out there for all of us. And we've gone, oh, hang on a minute.
Well, who do you say is out there taking pornographic work and calling themselves artists?
I'll just put out a little thing on the internet and ask them to come and tell me, shall I? Because if they are pedophiles and they are doing it, and they are in their thousands, don't make jokes about that, they're not going to tell me, and they're not going to tell you, Julian.
Hetty, no, come on. Hetty, can I ask you a question? It seems to me that what you are primarily worried about is the act of taking the photograph. And
it is
the dangers around the act of taking the photograph.
It is the unrestrained freedom of artistic expression without consideration for the protection of children. It is the fact that anybody can do this and call it art. There is no boundaries around this. You mightn't get to hang it on the gallery wall, it might not get seen anywhere, but the police will find it. And I can tell you that we've already had examples of it ourselves. In Western Australia, there's just been a prosecution of an anthropologist who collected all kinds of images and did all kinds of things with kids in the name of anthropology, not art, and in Queensland in art, and I don't know the name, but I will find out.
Okay, now we've got a few more questions, rapidly.
Thank you. My name is Robin Ayres and I'm the Director of the Arts Law Centre of Australia. I thought it was important to clarify the reason arts law exists is because artists want to be legally compliant and they want to check whether they're doing things within the law. And so the idea that artists consider themselves be outside the limits of the law, I'm sorry this is a statement, but I think it needs to be said because it's, we wouldn't be talking to 2,000 to 3,000 artists every year if they thought they could do anything they like. That's number one. The second question is really to Julian as the lawyer on the panel. Hetty is concerned that anyone can call themselves an artist. And we know that there's a defence, at least to one of the child pornography crimes that of artistic merit, basically, or artistic benefit. Now, the idea that anybody could call themselves an artist, how would they, could you explain to the audience what sort of proof someone who's going to rely on that defence would need to bring forward in a court in order to be able to get the benefit, I suppose, or the special privilege that goes with being an artist? Because I think that would perhaps help clarify
Good
the
question,
issue.
Robin. Yeah, good question. Julian.
They would have to demonstrate that in all the circumstances in which the material was produced, the defendant was acting for a genuine artistic purpose and the defendant's conduct was reasonable for that purpose. Now, Hetty raises this concern that there may be people out there who would call themselves artists, but actually they're just child pornographers. I think it's a bit harsh of her to criticise the art world on the unstated suggestion that they're harbouring this little unseen cadre of child pornographers. I don't know of any examples of that. I know child pornography exists. I deplore it as much as you do. But I do not think it's coming from artists. And if any of them were caught, If any of them were caught and prosecuted, I don't think it would be terribly difficult for their claim to be acting bona fide as artists to be blown away by any competent prosecutor.
Well...
Hetty, I think...
My question is for Hetty first, but for the whole panel. 65,000 people saw the exhibition at the New South Wales Art Gallery. I assume that maybe a few thousand people would have seen the one at Oxley 9 had it not blown up. However, magazines with circulations of hundreds of thousands, millions, with tens of thousands of images are freely available in every news agency in the country, which you have put in Clive, in your submission. Why is the focus on this one artist? The supposition that artists and pornographers are blurring together in some sort of, child porn sort of thing, when you can go into any news agency in Australia and pick up a magazine of Vanity Fair with 15-year-old Miley Cyrus looking post-coital, draped in a sheet.
Absolutely. And you'll
So
find me just
why
as vocal on that.
is the focus on the artist rather than media magazine?
Question's clear. Hetty.
And our focus is on that too, as Clive will tell you. We worked with Emma when she was with the Australian Institute and produced the report on the commercial sexual... was it commercial? No, what was it called?
Corporate pedophilia.
Corporate pedophilia. And we've already put our submission into the Senate inquiry on the sexual exploitation of children for commercial purposes. So we are engaged in that. This isn't my life. This is 5% of what I do. 95% of what I do is at the coalface looking after these kids and these families. But the media ring me, I respond, here I am, and I'm all right.
But Hetty, there is a question here, and can I press it? And that is, why are we worried about Bill Henson when we can go into a newsagent and buy magazines that have much more confronting images in them?
Well, why are we worried about any of it then? I mean, isn't it all the same? Or should we be worried about none of it or all of it? Or how do we separate
the fact is, you can go into a shop and buy pictures of naked women over 18, but you can't go and buy magazines of naked 13-year-old girls.
Not on a...
Well, I mean, she wasn't naked, but the point, your point is legitimate, and this Henson thing blew up because of a constellation of circumstances, but it's one of a whole series. I mean, you identified a couple yourself, which have raised serious public concerns. And our colleague here from the Arts Law Centre said that artists don't regard themselves outside the law, which may be the case, but certainly a lot of the defenders do. And so when people did raise questions about the legality of the Henson images, and it was a moot point for a while at least, people didn't sit back and say, well, let's see what the law says. There was outrage. How dare they? We should never see the police going into art galleries. Well, I think we have to recognise that it's possible that artists may break the law, and in which case police...
But Clive, two things happened. The cops went in and the pictures went out. It's part two that we're worried about. That the police go in is a matter of no concern whatever. It's the fact that the images went out in a crate to the Surrey Hills Police Headquarters.
Does that not mean that the law itself is unclear, that it needs clarification?
No,
the whole process
in
does?
fact, the law was terribly clear from the first that the possibility of the possibility of prosecution was essentially nil.
Well, as I suggested earlier, I just want to repeat this point. I actually think there are laws which do bear on this case that haven't been activated. I understand the pictures in question were taken in Melbourne, and there are laws in Victoria governing the use of children for any commercial purpose. And so if an advertiser wants to take a picture of fully clothed children, they need to get approval for doing that, and they need to adhere to a whole range of industrial relations laws, and they have to treat the children properly, and they must not present them in a way that's developmentally inappropriate. And it's perfectly possible that that law may have applied in this case if anyone had thought of it.
Okay, now, almost our last question, but I know how brisk it's going to be.
I'll be very brisk. This is a question inevitably for Hetty Johnson.
Another one.
You seem to say, out of this whole episode, that you regret nothing.
That I'm sorry?
That you regret nothing. Out of this whole episode, you seem to say you regret nothing. Yet we've had a photographer, an artist, who's been investigated by the police, who's been looked at for prosecution, who's had his artwork seized and returned, and yet you say you regret nothing. Do you have no regrets about having denounced this man as a pornographer? Do you have no regrets about having pushed civil intercourse to its absolute boundaries, don't you think that instead of sitting there asking questions and trying to simply stir things up, that you think you should have some solutions?
Well, first of all, I have come here with solutions. That's what my talk was all about, so I don't know where you were. Secondly, I have no regrets about raising this issue. Absolutely none. None at all, because what has happened is that this is now being discussed right around the country and internationally, and I think it's a debate we have to have. And I think it's a thought process that everybody in the arts community and the wider community have to have.
The decision of the censors suggests that you picked the wrong target. Do you not regret that?
No, I don't. Because it wasn't until, a week or 10 days after those pictures were taken that the law decided that, Julian. You might have decided it straight away, but we didn't get a finding until well after that.
Okay, you two. We've got one last question, one very last question.
Hi, my name's Myra and I have a question for Julian Burnside regarding his comment that ideas can do no harm. Now, I would have thought that ideas are incredibly powerful, particularly seeing as all policies and practices derive from ideas. And with that in mind, would you not agree that sometimes it's important for ideas to be challenged in a democratic society?
I agree wholeheartedly. I agree that the ideas ought to be challenged, and in the battleground of ideas, it's important that none should go into the battleground hobbled, and none should be suppressed. Ideas by themselves will not hurt people. Suppressing them. No, I'm just debating. I'm debating their ideas. I'm glad we're having the chance for a debate. I'm not saying. Well, that's because some of the ideas are crap. And my way of dealing with it is to say that, not to say you must not advance that idea. I would never say that to a person. I would much prefer to hear a person's ideas and say this is a wrong idea and I'll tell you why, rather than saying you must not advance that idea, you must suppress it.
Now, on that rousing note, the worst of all possible ideas has now come, that we have to close.
Yes, it is. It's amazingly fast travelling 2 hours, I must say. And I thought it was a really fantastic discussion on a number of levels about an issue that is confronting us, and it is really healthy to discuss. I want to thank you all for coming. Clive, Julian, Hetty, Tony, Ian, David, thank you very much for chairing. You did an excellent job. Thank you for being part of this. It's lovely to see this hall so full. We were worried there are only going to be 10 people interested. We're thrilled that there are many more. David said to remind you about the buckets. So, good night. Thank you also to the MCA and all who supported us on tonight.